I can't really point to one single day where I thought, that's it, I'm done with the way we're living. It's been kind of this slow build, really. Over time, we've learned a little more and we've changed a little here and there. But the more I felt our life was going against, something deep inside me. Those of you who have been following us for a while know that we lived on a farm in Canada, and there was this kind of sudden, almost physical understanding that this is where we were meant to be. And not just me or not just my family, but people and humans. The way we were working and eating and moving, it just really felt right to be there on our property and tending the land. But when we left the farm and we moved to rural UK, even though we kept pieces of that life, something was missing, and that, I don't know, something kept kind of gnawing at me until I started really digging deeper and researching more. And I realized the answer was basically we need to live more primal, more ancestral. So what does that even mean? Mostly we tend to think of this as going with our food, and really it's much more than that. But when we look at the food, our journey kind of started out as eating what everybody eats, the kind of balanced, everything in moderation kind of diet. So we did that for a while. I had my son, and then we went vegan. We were vegan for 7 years in total, of which 5 of those we were totally plant-based whole foods, and we were doing everything right. We were taking the supplements. Everything seemed to be the right thing to do at the time. But slowly we found that we had a lot of health problems and a lot of issues that just wouldn't go away. And we decided that maybe we should add meat to our diet. So meat came back in and we went to more whole foods. But because now we've gone back to this diet of stuff, we're going back and eating a lot of things that we also shouldn't have been eating. And something still wasn't really clicking in the way of how food made us feel better. And we've moved to, well, I've moved to the more extreme of carnivore and kind of had my struggles starting that, though I do feel really good on that. A lot of my arthritis and body pain and tiredness, and it's hard to get out of that we need vegetables stage. And I know we don't need them, but it's definitely a seasonal way. We should be eating more with nature, going back and eating what's in season in your area at any time, and don't deviate from that. So that's when we kind of landed where we are now. And I jokingly kind of call this Victorian paleo. I call it paleo because it's about eating as natural as possible. Mostly meat, broths, 1 or 2 meals a day, fast when it feels right, that kind of thing. You go really into that deep kind of ancestral kind of way. And Victorian because in my mind was really the last real era before our food system started to change beyond recognition. Yes, they had their quirks back then, putting weird shit in their bread and things, but still ate seasonally. They ate locally and according to what they could actually get at the time, and they had to go and get it. And it's worth remembering that things like the supermarkets like Tesco and Aldi and Walmarts and all those sorts of things, they didn't exist, haven't been in existence very long. The first real big supermarket like the ones we have today came in the 1960s. That's barely 60 years ago. Yet we act like the supermarket system is the only way food has ever been provided, and it's new and it's fragile, and we really need to make a change on how we shop and what we want from our food. When we first started making changes, it wasn't like all or nothing, cut out everything. We tried, like I said, carnivore for a while, but getting the whole family on board was a bit tricky, and trying to find the right way to do it was hard. So through a lot of trial and error, we found a rhythm. And for me, that now starts with going outside with the dogs, getting barefoot when I can, don't get the phone in the hand, just fresh air. I eat when I'm hungry. I eat mostly carnivore based. And I know I need to add more natural movement. you know, the kind you get from living and not forcing yourself to a gym. And that again falls into that primal and ancestral kind of way. You know, we weren't working out on trees every day, you know, we were actually moving and being a part of the world. And here's why I think that kind of matters. You know, we're surrounded by so much more information than ever, but so much of it is this noise, and it's designed to kind of keep you scrolling and not thinking, or just overloading you with information that you just don't know what to do. And meanwhile, in the background, there's this growing push to remove animals from farming. You know, meat is being imported from overseas at a fraction of the price. And here in the UK, farmland is basically disappearing under housing estates or solar farms. You know, the inheritance tax is making it harder for families to keep their land, and the young people are basically stepping out of farming and going after so many other avenues of earnings. But the truth is, we need our farmers and we need our farmland, and we just need to do it in a better, more holistic kind of way. You know, food is one of the last things we should be handing over to big corporations. Food, water, shelter, warmth, these should be as close to our own control as possible, not left in the hands of people who see them only as a way to make profit for their own bank accounts. And I know I'm not the poster person for this kind of message. You know, the primal and ancestral living space is filled with people who are lean and shredded, and they stand half naked in a river telling you, you know, to look like them, you can go running for 20 minutes and doing 19 push-ups and eat just roast beef, you know, or steaks, I guess, right? And that's not me. You know, you probably feel a bit more like me, and I'm hoping you can kind of resonate. And I want to be able to take you on this journey with us. We've learned a lot along our journey of what works, what doesn't work, and now I'm compiling that all into an actual lifestyle of what we want to do and where we're heading with it. So we want to kind of take you along with us so you have a bit of an understanding as well. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. You know, you start with one kind of change, then another, and these small steps create momentum, and then the momentum creates movements, which we are hoping that will bring forth a lot of people to change how they interact with the world. So anyway, if any of this resonates, please follow along. I share new videos every week, and every Sunday I also write a Stay Rooted weekly newsletter. So if you're interested in that, just pop over to our website. But yeah, thanks for coming along. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.